Morning, my dear students. Today we are continuing with our chapter 2 in history, Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Students, in our previous lecture we were studied about support for socialism and the Russian Empire in 1914. Now students, today I will explain you about the economy and the society in Russia, socialism in Russia, the Russian Socialist Democratic Labour Party, and the division of Bolshevik and Menshevik. The 1905 Revolution, Bloody Sunday, in the St. Petersburg, Father Gapon elected Consultative Parliament or Duma. Now, students, in 1914, the Tsar Nicholas II ruled Russia and its empire. Besides the territory around Moscow, the Russian Empire included current day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. It stretched to the Pacific and comprised today's Central Asian state as well as Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. The majority religion was Orthodox Christianity, which had grown out of the Greek Orthodox Church. But the empire also included Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, and Buddhists. Now, despite the liberal revolution of the 19th century, the Russian Empire continued to be an absolute monarchy. The Russian absolute monarchy was ruled by the Tsar Nicholas II. Now, the concentrated all the power. Tsar concentrated all the powers and he was supported by the nobility, Orthodox Church, the army, and the bureaucracy. Now, the political situation of his empire, civil rights were not recognized, political parties faced repression. There was a parliament called Duma. Its power were very limited. The Tsar could gather or dissolve the Duma whenever he wanted. Now, students, economy and society. At the beginning of the 20th century, the vast majority of Russian people were agriculturists. About 85% of the Russian Empire population earned their living from agriculture. This proportion was higher than in the most European countries. Now, industries was found in pockets. Prominent industrial area was St. Petersburg and Moscow. Craftsmen undertook much of the production, but large factories existed alongside crafts workshop. Many factories were set up in 1890s when Russia's railways network was extended and foreign investment in industry increased. Now, most industry was a private property of industrialists. Government supervised large factories to ensure minimum wages and limited hours of work, but factory inspector could not prevent rules being broken. In crafts unit and small workshop, the working day was sometimes 15 hours compared with the 10 or 12 hours in factories. Workers were divided in social groups. Some had strong link with the villages from which they came. Others had settled in cities permanently. Workers were divided by skill. A metal worker of St. Petersburg recalled, metal workers considered themselves aristocrats among other workers. Their occupation demanded more training and skill. Women made up 31% of the factory labor forced by 1914, but they were paid less than men. Despite division of workers did unite to stop work when they disagreed with employers about dismissal or working conditions. In the countryside, peasants cultivated most of the land, but the nobility, the crown, and Orthodox Church owned large properties like workers. Peasants too were like workers, peasants were too divided. Two were divided. They were also deeply religious, but except in a few cases, they had no respect for the nobility. Nobles got their power and positions through their services to the Tsar or not through local popularity. Russian peasants were different from the other European peasants in another way. They provided their land together periodically and their community mir divided it according to the needs of individual family. The peasants were extremely very poor in Russia. Now, socialism in Russia. All political parties were illegal in Russia before 1914. The Russian Social Democratic Worker Party was founded in 1898 by socialists who respected Marx's ideas. Now, some Russian socialists felt that the Russian peasant customs of dividing land periodically made them natural socialists. Now, so peasants, not worker, would be the main force of the revolution, and Russia could become a socialist more quickly than other countries. Socialists were active in the countryside through the late 19th century. They formed the Socialist Revolutionary Party in 1900. This party struggled for peasants' rights and demanded that land belonging to the nobles be transferred to peasants. Social Democrats disagreed with Social Revolutionary about peasants. Lenin felt that peasants were not one united group. Some were poor and others were rich. Some worked as laborers while others were capitalists who were employed workers. Now, the party was divided over the strategy of organization. Vladimir Lenin, who led the Bolshevik group, thought that in a repressive society like Tsar, Tsar Russian, the party should be disciplined and should control the number and quality of its member. Other Mensheviks thought that the party should be open to all. So these were the ideas of the Mensheviks and Bolsheviks group. Now, in the 1905 revolution. Now, Russia was an autocracy. Unlike other European rulers, even at the beginning of the 20th century, the Tsar was not subject to parliament. Liberals in Russia campaigned to end this state of affairs. Together with the Social Democrats and Socialist revolutionaries, they worked with peasants and workers during the revolution of 1905 to demand a constitution. Now, they were supported in the empire by nationalists and in Muslim dominated area by jihadists who wanted modernized Islam to lead their societies. Now, in 1904 was particularly bad for the Russian workers. Prices of essential goods rose so quickly that real wages declined by 20%. The memberships of workers' association rose dramatically when 4 members of the Assembly of Russian workers, which had been formed in 1904, were dismissed at the Putilov iron workers. There was a call for industrial action. Over the next few days, over 110,000 workers in the St. Petersburg went on strike demanding a reduction in working day to 8 hours, an increase in wages and improvement in working condition. When the procession of the workers led by Father Gapon reached the Winter Palace, it was attacked by the police and Cossacks. Over 100 workers were killed and about 300 wounded. The incident, known as the Bloody Sunday, started a series of events that became known as the 1905 Revolution. Strikes took place all over the country and universities closed down. Universities closed down when students' bodies staged walkouts, complaining about the lack of civil liberties. Lawyers, doctors, engineers, and other middle classes workers established the Union of the Unions and demanded the Constitute Assembly. Now, during the 1905, the Tsar allowed the creation of an elected consultative parliament or Duma. For a brief while during the revolution, there existed a large number of trade unions and factories committees made up the factory workers. After 1905, most committees and union work unofficially since they were declared illegal. Severe restrictions were placed on political activity. The Tsar dismissed the first Duma within 75 days and the re elected second Duma or parliament within 3 months. He did not want any questioning of his authority or any reduction in his power. He changed the voting laws and packed the Third Duma with conservative politicians. Liberals and revolutionary were kept out. Now, thank you, students.